Mrs. Sloan? Mrs. Johnson? Mrs. Johnson? Okay. Mr. Bear? Mr. Greenstein? Mr. Hohauser? Mr. McDermott? Mrs. Naldoni? Thank you.
I'll make a motion for the adoption of the agenda, May 5th, 2015. Do I have a second? Mr. Hohauser, all in favor? Adoption the agenda? 7-0. Thank you. Do you want to do the certificates now? I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Mooney for a moment for a special announcement proclamation this evening.
First of all, it's really nice to be back. No, don't do that. No, don't do that. Thank you. All right. Now you're going to make me cry. Don't do that. Thank you very much. I really don't have a lot of words to say to thank everyone. This is the most incredible community, the most incredible staff from every aspect of the staff here, the parents, the Board of Education, my administrator colleagues, everyone has been great. So thank you so much. I'm not back officially yet, but I certainly wanted to be here tonight because it's really one of our most special events. But before we actually get to that business at hand, I did want to issue a proclamation because I'm not sure if you're aware, in May there is a National Teachers Day, and so it just seemed very appropriate to issue this proclamation to our teachers. So it is, whereas teachers make public schools great, and whereas teachers work to open students' minds to ideas, knowledge, and dreams, and whereas teachers keep American democracy alive by laying the foundation for good citizenship, and whereas teachers fill many roles as listeners, explorers, role models, motivators, and mentors, and whereas teachers continue to influence us long after our school days are only memories, I therefore, Kathleen A. Mooney, as Superintendent of Schools of Port Washington, hereby proclaim Tuesday, May 5th, National Teacher Day. I urge that we observe this day by taking time to recognize and acknowledge the impact of teachers in our lives. And I'd like to ask the PWTA President, Christine Vasilev, to come up to accept this proclamation.
You know I can't let a moment like this pass without saying something. On behalf of the more than 500 caring professionals dedicated to quality education who make up the membership of the PWTA, I thank you for this certificate of recognition. By any measure, these are challenging times for public education. it is not an overstatement to say that we are in crisis. Now, many inspirational speeches claim that the Chinese character for crisis is made up of two brushstrokes, meaning danger and opportunity. It goes back to something John F. Kennedy referenced in one of his speeches. It does inspire, but in fact, it isn't accurate. In Chinese, the two parts of the word crisis mean danger and crucial point. It's a perilous moment. That's where we are in public education. So here's our choice. Either we stand helplessly by and let politicians and publishers attempt to define quality education, or we stand up and defend what we know is right for children and for our communities. We can sit in silence while educators are made the scapegoats for all the ills of society. Or we can stand up and defend public education as the answer to those ills. We can let those who denigrate teachers try to silence, demoralize, and divide us. Or we can do what we were made to do: stand up and educate. We can reclaim the joy of teaching and learning. We will not allow ourselves or our students be defined by a number. This certificate is a statement of recognition of the unique contribution teachers make to this community. It celebrates our partnership with parents, administrators, community groups, and everyone focused on quality education. During this crisis, we must dedicate ourselves to telling the truth about what a quality education entails and support that endeavor everywhere. The teachers you are recognizing tonight deserve that recognition. We deserve it today. We deserve it every day. So we thank you.
We will now go to student and community comments. We ask that everyone identify themselves for the record, and for those of you that aren't aware and are new here this evening, we do have a 3-minute limit, and we ask that you please respect that. Thank you.
Nanette Melkonian. First, congratulations to those who received tenure this evening. I wish you a bright future and hope your passion and creativity will continue to shine. Field testing is scheduled to begin soon. Last year, 27 brave school districts returned their field tests unopened. Those school districts were not willing to give up more instructional time to testing. This past fall, the New York State Board of Regents was scheduled to vote to mandate field testing. That vote never happened. Field testing is not mandated. While there continues to be debate about the value of current assessments, I haven't met anyone who wants to see more instructional time lost to field testing. Our children are not employees of Pearson. Their claims that field testing is a tool to provide a quality test. We have yet to see a quality test as a result of this field testing, both because of a lack of transparency and because they have yet to produce one. Additionally, for those that are not aware, SED issued a memo stating that not all test accommodations will be made available, once again invalidating an already invalid test. Please be leaders and advocate for instructional time over the needs of a corporation that already has too much power over our classrooms. Be among the school districts that choose to return the field tests unopened. Thank you.
Allison White, parent in the district, and I too would like to congratulate all the teachers who are receiving tenure tonight. And I would like to thank Mrs. Vasilev for her comments. I recently attended the Network for Public Education conference in Chicago, a gathering of over 600 activists, parents, students, teachers, administrators, school board members, all fighting the fight against the corporatization and privatization of public education. We are in a very big battle. Towards that end, it is my understanding that Port Washington still plans on giving the field tests, and the schools affected are Daly 4th and 5th grade math, Guggenheim 5th grade ELA, Manor Haven 3rd and 4th grade ELA, South Salem 3rd grade ELA, Sousa 4th grade math, Weber 6th grade math, and at Schreiber, Geometry Regents, U.S. History and Government Regents, Algebra 2, Trig Regents. I too urge the district to refuse these field tests as a district. If the district chooses to go ahead and administer these tests, I urge parents of students in these grades to send in your refusal letter and ask that the district continue its practice of respecting parents' refusal. Tell state ed enough. We are tired of having our children's classrooms hijacked by state ed and for-profit corporations. Standalone field tests are not reliable ways to produce quality assessments. I only have 3 minutes, so instead of giving you all the reasons, I'm going to leave you with this 30-page document produced by the New York State Allies for Public Education, which was sent to Ken Wagner. Deborah Brooks of Port Washington is one of the authors of this document. We have direct evidence that field testing has not worked. Just look at the examples of the tests that were given this year and last year. And if you haven't seen John Oliver's show this week on standardized testing, I urge you to watch it. And it discusses many of the problems with Pearson and testing. And I also urge you to read the Long Island Business News, which has been doing some wonderful pieces on Common Core. So I urge you to review those. Port Washington needs to stand up and assert that we value local control of education. As Nanette pointed out, field testing is not mandated. We know that messages sent to districts by SAD are meant to bully districts. I hope Port Washington will join with other districts and be upstanders and send the field
30
test
seconds.
back. I appreciate the APPR resolution that you're supposed to pass tonight, and I urge the board and administration to continue discussing these issues. And in recognition of National Teacher Appreciation Day and Teacher Appreciation Week, let's appreciate our teachers by giving our teachers the opportunity to do what they love, teach our children. No teacher became a teacher to be a test proctor. Let's clear as many obstacles out of their way and enable teachers to bring their individual
3
talents and
minutes.
passions and develop the important relationships with our kids and meet the needs of each individual student. Thank you.
Hello, honorable members of the Board of Education Administration. I'm Josh Curtis, a senior at Schreiber and co-founder of the Student Union Party of Schreiber, or SUPS. First, I'd like to congratulate the teachers who have received tenure. You make this school district as great as it is, despite some policy shortcomings that I disagree with. Although I'm not here to talk about those tonight, I'm instead here to clarify some facts about the state of the district's fiscal administration. The first point I'd like to address is the persistent perception among many in the town that the board is either corrupt or incompetent. While the board might very well lack some cohesive vision on where to take our schools, I disagree strongly with both the premises of corruption and incompetence. Most accusations of corruption stem from the size of the bond that passed earlier in the year, so let's be clear about the laws surrounding bonds. The board is required to select the lowest reasonable bid. The size of the bids and the contractors who propose them will be public, and I therefore simply don't see the opportunity for any kind of graft. And I'd invite those who disagree with my analysis to point out exactly how I am wrong, and I would do that if I didn't already know that the accusations are another financial phantom in this district. Regarding competence, I speak from personal experience working with you on the board. To be sure, I disagree with many of you in many areas, as I think is probably obvious, but I've seen you on the board work tirelessly to accommodate my concerns and those of SUPS. I've seen that all who are willing to have a reasonable discussion with you have been granted just that, a reasonable discussion. And this is where my second point about the future of our district comes in. Only a few marginal voices still claim that the district doesn't need to expand its programs to keep up with the times. However, mainstream participants in the discussion about the optimal balance of program preservation and budget size have vastly disparate views. There are many, even sitting in this room, who believe that we can squeeze some money out of the budget by cutting waste or useless parts of the budget to become more efficient in allocating our money to the right programs. To this I say one thing, which is that one man's trash is another man's treasure. I'm very grateful that I learned gardening in elementary school. It's now one of my favorite hobbies to nurture raspberry canes and blueberry bushes. Learning family and consumer sciences in middle school, although even I mocked it at the time, has been a greatly unexpected help to me in high school, and now as I head to college, I'm grateful that I learned to cook when I still had time to do so.
30 seconds.
I've looked at the budget, not just overviews of numbers, but code by code. I combed through it with you on the board, some of you at least, and you sat and listened to my questions. Despite our disagreements, we had a reasonable discussion. While I'm still looking for answers to our district's problems, I feel confident in assuring the community pie in the sky claims that we can solve our program deficit by cutting programs that no one wants are exactly as full of air as they sound. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paula Whitman from the Port Washington Education Foundation. And while I admit that I've missed some of these meetings this year, I've been watching them at home on the live stream. This is a meeting I would never miss. This is the feel-good meeting of the year, and although it is definitely a challenging time for education everywhere, I look at the leadership that we have and the teaching staff that we have in our school district and this auditorium filled with supportive, innovative, wonderful educators, and I'm optimistic. And from where we sit, from the Education Foundation, things are really looking bright. There is a staff filled with exciting ideas, even in challenging times, looking for ways to make things happen in their classrooms for their students. So on behalf of the Port Washington Education Foundation, I'm thrilled to congratulate all of our newest educators who are receiving tenure tonight, and also to congratulate and thank the outgoing teachers who are going to be retiring and leaving us, as well as the administrators in that same group. It is our pleasure and our honor to sponsor the reception in the cafeteria, and we hope that everyone will join for some well wishes. And I just want to say thank you. We're so grateful. We're so appreciative of everything that everyone does to keep this school district great despite the challenges. Thank you.
If there are no other community comments at this time, we will move on to the rest of our agenda. I would just like to say, on behalf of the board and the school district, a very heartfelt thank you to the Port Washington Education Foundation for sponsoring our reception this evening. It's very lovely, and we do hope you'll all join us at the break. And as my good friend Paula Whitman said, it is the feel-good meeting of the year. It's really a wonderful celebration of our school district. And as people that sit here at every meeting, because we have to, and we hear all of the people at the microphone, and we read the emails, and we hear all the things going on, not just in Port Washington, but in New York, all across the country and around the world. And it's wonderful to be here tonight and remember that no matter what is going on, whether there's testing or not testing, evaluations, code of conducts, tenure, whatever is happening to public education, whatever issues are there, our teachers, day in, day out, no matter what we're all talking about, they are in the classroom and teaching our children every single day, and nothing changes that. And we have an incredible staff here. our administrators, our custodial staff, our paraprofessionals, our clericals, central administration, our other administrators, grounds and facilities. I hope I'm remembering everybody, but it wouldn't all happen without all of you, and it's important to remember that whatever is your passion, whatever is your issue that's important to you, what's important to all of them is taking care of our children every day, and it's worth celebrating. So thank you to all of you for being here tonight to celebrate that, and congratulations to all those teachers who are officially welcomed to our school district this evening, and for those that will be leaving, we thank you for your many, many years of service. And now I will turn this over, I believe, to Dr. Mooney or Ms. Venig. We're going to do that. Just a moment. We got it now. We're a little out of sync. Sorry, we're first back together. It's our first night back together. So now we'll move to the report of the superintendent.
Usually what we do is the board acts upon the tenure recommendations, and then we do a little bit more of a formal, ceremony type of aspect to it. So I'm actually going to turn it back to Mrs. Sloan to do the resolution to award the tenure for teachers and teacher assistants, and then we'll get to the fun part. So.
Okay, item 7, award of tenure to the teachers. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, on the recommendation of the superintendent, awards tenure to the individuals below. Do I have a second? Mrs. Johnson, all in favor? 7-0, thank you, and congratulations. The names will be each read in just a moment. And now the award of tenure to the paraprofessionals. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, on recommendation of the superintendent, awards tenure to the following individual listed below. Do I have a second? Mrs. Johnson, all in favor? 7-0, thank you. And there were 2. There's just 2. Okay.
Okay. Now, before we actually bring up those of you who have just been awarded tenure to be recognized, we'd actually just like to take a moment to recognize and thank our teachers who are retiring this year. It's always a very bittersweet moment for us as a district because these are just wonderful, wonderful teachers who've contributed so much to our students over the years, and we will miss you. You play a big part in who we are as a school district, and your lack of presence next year will be felt by all of us, and we deeply, deeply appreciate your many, many years of service to both the teaching profession and to the Port Washington community. So just to recognize, there are 2 teachers from Daly who are retiring. Joan Andors, 5th grade teacher. And if you're here, if you would come up, we have a flower for you. And Roseanne Maddie, speech teacher. We have 4 teachers retiring from Weber. Phys ed teacher, Fran Clark. Technology teacher, Paul Casiba. Special education teacher, Lisa Mead. And art teacher, Trish Wright. we also have 4 teachers retiring from Schreiber. Special education teacher Doris Behrens. Health teacher Pat Kasiba. English teacher and department chairperson Joan Lisecki. And technology teacher Don Schaefer. We have two administrators also who are retiring this year from our pupil personnel department. Our associate administrator for pupil personnel, Leslie Anesta. And Weber Middle School Principal, Marilyn Rodahan. As our staff knows from me this year, our opening theme for the school year was about hope and gratitude. And I really had no idea when I when I chose that theme, and the staff here will know what I'm talking about. And I gave you the gratitude challenge. I had no idea that you would give it back to me, and I mean that in the best way possible. It was just everything I received from so many people it was almost overwhelming, and there are no words to express my gratitude for all of you and what all of you do each and every day with our students. Our students are the luckiest students in the world because they have wonderful, wonderful administrators, paraprofessionals, our teachers, our clericals, custodians, the security personnel, our maintenance workers, everyone who works so hard and looks out for their best interests. So tonight is a very special night for all of us. You give me so much hope for the future of education, and we will not lose sight of that because we always put the students first. And that's what we look for when we're hiring our staff, and that's what we pride ourselves on when we have you part of a permanent staff through the tenure process. I'm actually going to start with recognition of our teacher assistants. We have 3. Some people actually received tenure a little earlier in the year, but from Guggenheim we have Julie Freitas and Phyllis Rothman. Sorry. And from SUSA, Paula Wersan. Okay. From Daly Elementary School, congratulations to Dr. Alyssa Samuels Stein. And I should say Dr. Stein is also at Guggenheim as well. Okay. From Guggenheim, and she also spends part of her days at Daly, Carly Valentine. Congratulations, Carly. Okay. From Manor Haven, Lynette O'Donnell. And Alyssa Zenzian. Congratulations, Alyssa. Okay, from Salem Elementary School, Joan Kukulis. And Kristen Selekia. Okay. Sousa Elementary School. Hold your applause, we have a few. Allison Bowman. Jamie Greenberg. Lauren Miglietta. And Justin Ryan. Congratulations, Allison. Congratulations, Jamie. Good to see you. Hey, Justin. Congratulations. Good to see you. Okay. Weber Middle School. Matthew Goronsky. Christine Romano Herman. Elizabeth Sherian. And Dr. Jana Stein. Congratulations, Matt. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. And Schreiber High School. Scott Hoseman. And Patricia Smith. Congratulations, Scott.
20 to 5.
Congratulations. Nice to see you. Sit. Yeah. if I could just have your attention for just a moment. We are going to take a short break for you to enjoy each other's company, the company of your families to celebrate. There is a reception set up in the cafeteria. Once again, we thank you very much for the PWEF for helping us host the reception. Very grateful for all their help and support. So please feel free to join us in the cafeteria. Thank you.
She didn't show up. She was one of the.
they look at it and say we need an extra 25 million a year, and they go to Nassau County, and Nassau County says we don't have the fucking money. Where are we going to get the money? Answer. I don't know.
Read by tomorrow's Port Washington.
I get it delivered. I get it.
That's right, but you won't get it until Thursday. Same.
All right, I'll get it Thursday.
Same as
Yeah.
read what I wrote.
But this is, where's the budget meeting? There's nobody here.
And if you can, support me any way you can, monetarily, vote for me.
Nobody gets elected that goes against this stuff.
That's right.
This is a
because
PTA
they
meeting.
they have a well, this is a they have a guaranteed vote of 2,000 kids.
Right.
I'm running for the greater community.
I would like to get the people that are paying this
I'm
year.
retired.
So much.
I haven't seen the system.
So much. I was out of the country. So.
Expecting an enrollment increase and then want to make
I don't know those details, but obviously you've spent some time
I do.
studying.
I analyze everything.
Right. Bring them over and introduce them to me. Please.
Everyone on a hot day isn't
I have, you're referring to yourself? It's the Sousa Archer.
We're back in session. I'll make a motion for the approval of minutes for April 21st, 2015. All in favor, a second, Mr. Hohauser, all in favor? 6-0, because we're missing Mr. Greenstein. No, he'll come eventually. We can't do the discussion item because we're waiting on Mrs. Callahan. We could skip right over to committee reports while we're waiting. Committee. Do you have anything to, no, your budget. Do you have anything to report? Policy and personnel.
Nobody cares. Now it's working. Oh, okay. Just want to make like a off-the-record comment. We had our last policy and personnel committee meeting. I think it was last Thursday. It was Friday. Okay, it was Friday. And we discussed we did our annual review of our facilities usage policy, talking about some second-generation issues that come up. Is this better? Okay. I was saying that we had our policy and personnel committee meeting on Friday. We did the annual review rather, and discussed the facilities usage policy and how it's been working. Generally, it's been working very well. Different second-generation issues have come up on how far a nonprofit's use of a facility extends. For example, does it extend to if it's a student sports group, does it extend to the adult members wanting to raise money using the facilities. These are questions that are coming up and that we're addressing. The next meeting is on May 29th, and the agenda will be posted, well, actually, the agenda will probably be announced at the next meeting.
I believe we can skip back now to the budget discussion, Mrs. Callahan, if you're ready.
Thank you, Mrs. Sloan. The budget. The 2015-16 budget that was adopted by the Board of Education at our last public meeting is $144,919,392. That is a budget-to-budget increase of 0.59% and a tax levy limit increase of 2.38%. As individuals from the Budget and Facilities Committee and the rest of the board, and for those of you who have attended our Budget and Facilities meeting, we began the budget process last summer, and we had our evening board meetings dedicated to budget since February. The ultimate budget that has been adopted by this Board of Education includes funding for 2 additional elementary classroom teachers in sections where we believe that enrollment is growing. We also have an increase for 1 special educator for a middle school program that will begin in September for those children moving up from the elementary school. And we have set aside funds for an ENL teacher. For those of us who have been around a long time, that's the new acronym for ESL, children whose native language is other than English. And that is based on a new regulation that may or may not be specific to Port Washington, and we will not know that for about another 10 days, but we're in the throes of finding out exactly whether we have enough students to meet the criteria to develop that class. We have no real cuts in program, although we do have 2 retirements at the high school in English and art that will not be replaced. We will, however, be reviewing class offerings and sections to make sure that they are balanced. And I would say that the one item in particular that helped us keep this budgetary increase lower had to do with the reduction in the percentage required from the teacher's retirement system, which lowered the cost of the budget increase, and the levy is impacted also by the anticipated cost of bonding our first payment on our roof bond from 2012. Other than that, I would say there were areas where supplies and equipment were cut with the cooperation of the building principals and directors, because we did have at one point a gap of $485,000. And when I say a gap of $485,000, that was after the board had agreed to take $1 million out of district savings or fund balance to offset the increase in the tax levy. And that included the benefit of additional state aid, which came in at the end of March. And that is a brief, broad stroke statement of where our budget is at this point, and we have our vote on May 19th from 6 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. in the evening. Are there any questions from the board? Thank Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Callahan. And again, as we said at the last meeting, thank you very much to you and your entire staff and our budget committee for all the hard work in getting this all together for us. And we hope all goes well at our vote. So thank you. And now we'll go back to the committee reports. Mr. Bear, did you want to add anything? And the next date, no, you're good. The date of the next meeting do you have? May 18th. Okay. And Mr. Greenstein, curriculum?
Our next meeting is going to be for our applied language program. The meeting was originally scheduled for May 15th, but it will have to be changed because the applied language chair, River, is going to be out of town that day. So we will post a new day that April will be the 26th. Hopefully the 26th, which is the Tuesday after Memorial Day. But we will finalize that and get it up on the website.
I'm going to move to the action items and make a motion for item A1 through D14, pulling C5. Our resolution. Do I have a second? Mr. Greenstein, all in favor? 7-0. Okay, thank you. And now I am going to go to C5, make the motion, and then we will have discussion before we vote. So I will make a motion for item C5. Do I have a second? Mrs. Johnson. Okay, we'll now go to discussion. Mr. Greenstein, as our resident board expert, do you want to begin any discussion or you want to go last?
I'll go last.
Okay. Chris? Anyone? Vernon, did you want to comment on this?
Not really, but I know that I'm possibly one of the only people who are not going to vote for this, but I just want to say, let's see what could be helpful, that, you know, I've been doing this now for 3 years, and I have to say I have a deeper understanding of what a great system we have here, and we're fortunate, but also it's, you know, a lot of work goes into it. But regarding these reforms at the state level, I don't think they were created to punish or fix a place like Port Washington. I think they're created more out of a necessity to fix or to address serious issues across the state in different districts. So I just think that some aspects of the reforms are constructive, and then other aspects I do agree with a lot of you missed the mark. But in the same way, for me, this resolution has parts that are constructive and other parts, you know, just missed the mark for me. So I'm not going to be able to vote for it tonight, but I do want to thank all of you guys for putting so much time and effort into doing it. I mean, it was kind of, I'm not saying I couldn't have gotten there, but the last version was this morning, and yeah, I just, you know, it's just one of those things. But I like all of you a lot, so.
I just want to say for the audience, this is the resolution on APPR, and a lot of time and effort went into it. When you have 7 people working on something like this, even if it's just one issue, there are so many pieces to it, and people have different points of view. So this has been in the works for quite some time, and this is what we finally came up with as a sort of compromise that still didn't necessarily please everyone, but I want to thank everyone that did work on it. And does anyone else have any comment this time? Mr. Hohauser.
I would agree. I would agree with much of what Vernon said. That this APPR system was not intended to fix or designed to fix what some people perceive as issues with school districts like ours. The problem is kind of where it was designed to impact Port Washington least that's the general sense from the board. So hopefully that sense comes through. One of the obvious difficulties is that, or problems, I should put it this way, is whether or not we're just twisting in the wind here, or whistling in the dark, I should say, because hopefully this will receive notice, hopefully other districts will adopt, they have already adopted similar resolutions, and maybe our legislation takes some notice.
No, okay. Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for the work that they put in on it. It was truly, going on until I think 11 o'clock last night, trying to get the language worked out, because we really did start from very different points on the board, and I think it was a testament to how well we worked together and find as much common ground as we possibly could. And I certainly totally respect and understand Bernie's position, and that's fine. It's been a real help, and we took a lot of what he had to say into account, and we did the best we could, and just glad that we're doing this. I don't necessarily think it's going to have a major impact at SED. I think the impact has already been felt with the opt-out numbers, but I do think that any ammunition that the regions can have to come up with a better system is helpful. And since we are a well-respected district, adding our voice to the mix will help give them the ammunition, especially our region, the ammunition to bring our case forward. So I think that it will, in some ways, help to make the APPR, into a better product. And it probably still won't be what we really want it to be, but it'll be better than it could have been had we not done this.
My mic is working. I just also wanted, before I call the question, to thank Dr. Moody because
It was very helpful to us along the way. And though you did say it was your humble opinion, your opinion's not humble. So we value it very much. Thank you. And if there's nothing else, I'll call to question. All in favor? 6. Against? 1. Abstain? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. You have good vote? Okay, thank you. And now we will move to any new business. Okay, we will have our last opportunity for the community to be heard. I ask again that you identify yourself and please respect the 3-minute limit.
Frank Russo, the Port Washington Educational Assembly. I respect our board members for the time you donate to the community, but I'm very troubled by the misleading information you provided to voters and to Schreiber students on the actual cost of the $70 million bond. The April issue of the Schreiber Times, page 11 if you read it, says, quote, "The tax period will extend 7 years through 2023, with the average homeowner paying $106 per year in taxes for the bond. And after 2023, there will be no bond-related school taxes." That is completely false. Without this bond, the average homeowner would have received a $400 per year tax cut come 2023 with the old bonds expiring. This new bond adds $400 per year for 17 years, or $6,800 in additional taxes on the average homeowner. That even our Schreiber students were misled by the board is absolutely repugnant and proves the deceptive nature of the board's message presented to the entire community, both voters and students. Your website said the same thing, $106 per year until 2023, and then no additional costs afterwards. That's dead wrong, and you know it. Many voters are unaware that bond costs are exempt from the tax cap, and come 2023, when bonds expire, our taxes would have been reduced by $400 per year. Now with the new $70 million bond, we have to pay that $400 per year for 17 more years. Yes, on February 24th, I had asked Karen Sloan to please inform the voters of this fact. And yes, Karen, you did, at that board meeting that evening, with about 15 folks in attendance, do that. 15. What I meant was for the board to be fully transparent and inform all voters of this basic fact on our school website and in mailing to voters. Let them know what the actual numbers are in terms of cost per homeowner. Good people can differ on whether the $70 million bond was really needed or not, but good people cannot disagree on being open and transparent to all voters so they know the facts regarding future budget increases. PWEA has supported your past 3 budgets, but future budgets will get our support only if you come in under the tax cap by at least 1/2 of 1%.
30 seconds.
Only if you come in under the tax cap by at least 1/2 of 1% to cover some of these new bond costs. You don't ever come below the tax cap, but rather right smack at the tax cap level. I wonder if you know the pressure so many homeowners are under, with one of the biggest costs they face being our school property taxes. Thank you very much.
If there's no one else at this time, there is? Okay.
Answer to his questions?
We don't enter into discussions with community comments. We just offer community members the opportunity to speak.
Hi, my name's Robin Dubert. I'm one of the HSA co-presidents at Guggenheim and the parent of 3 children in the district. I am very proud to have been part of the passage of the bond this past year, and I'm looking forward to the successful passage of the budget as well. I am concerned, as I've stated before, about the class sizes at Guggenheim. I was very upset. I went to one of the Meet the Candidates meetings the other night. Parent got up from another elementary school in the district and spoke about how wonderful the board was in adding another section of kindergarten at that elementary school to create class sizes of 20 children. Guggenheim had the largest amount of accepted class sizes in the district. We have first grade, kindergarten and third grade classes that exceed the limits. I know that it's a hope that with the passage of the bond that a 4th section will be added to our 3rd grade. Our teachers are amazing. They go above and beyond, but especially with the younger children with class sizes, their hands are tied in order to give the attention that's needed. We also have the self-contained special ed classes for the younger grades in our school that push in class sizes that are already very large, even higher, doing no benefit to those children as well who are trying to have a regular class experience. We also have some of our speech teachers and our ESL teachers in closets. I know the bond will address that, but the class size is really a huge problem for the children and the teachers, and I would really appreciate it if the board could just look at this again and try to come up with something to alleviate the stress on the kids and our faculty and staff. Thank you.
Any other community comments? Please step up to the microphone now.
Yes, good evening. First of all, my name is...
Sir, could you please give your name?
Yes, my name is Rory Dolan, R-O-R-Y. First of all, it's the first time I've been in this school, and I have to say it's an absolutely beautiful school. I lived in Port Washington many years ago and then left, and I've been here back about 7.5 years. I moved to Mill Pond Acres, which is a community that you have to be 55 or older to move into. My question is simply about the school taxes, because I get these directives. I just got something Pride Port, which to me was 101 public relations for the Board of Education and the teachers. I don't see any other side to the story. And my question is simply this. You hold out that you were within a 2% cap, but this year went up to 2.38. I have looked at my taxes in Mill Pond Acres in the last 7 years, and they have gone up 10% every year. And I spoke to people about this in the last 3 days, and they said, that's not our problem. You've got to go to the Nassau County assessors or the town assessors. Well, if you need $20 million a year increase, I think you have a moral obligation to figure out where it's coming from. And if you're going to take people who are over 55 and say, we're going to increase your property values so we can get an extra 10%, not 2% or 3 or 4%, you should be aware of this. I came here tonight for the first time to be educated by you people about the budget. And I find out that after 12 hours of looking at this, I'm educating most of you about the budget and where you get your money from, and the fact that there are people, homeowners, who are paying 12% increases a year in school tax. And your answer is, that I've heard so far, fight with the Board of Assessment. I think that's wrong, I think it's immoral, and I think it's totally non-transparent. And I will tell you that I will go after the 55-year-old people and up who just
30
pay the taxes.
30 seconds.
Just pay the taxes and don't understand them. And I will go to them and tell them that this is unjust because you have no children in school. And you're paying much more. You might be paying 80% of the bill. So I would like you all to look at it, not just we need 20 million a year, but look where the 20 million comes from. And the undue stress that you're putting on homeowners, especially the seniors. Thank you. Now, being my first time, can someone educate me, or is this just rhetoric?
As I stated before, you must not have heard me. We don't get into discussions with the community comments. We would be here all evening. We offer the community the opportunity to come here and speak their piece, but we can't get into discussions.
So, is there any way I will get an answer ever?
Almost guarantee you'll get a response. I can tell you right now that some of the figures you quoted are absolutely wrong. They are not. I can show you my tax statements. Would you like to see them afterwards? Yes. I will show them with you.
Sir, you can take a seat.
Hi, I'm James Ansel. I think you all know that I'm a candidate for the school board, and I hope that everyone tomorrow, will read the Port Washington News, which will fully express my views. But aside from that, I do appreciate your service and the time that you put in and the long hours, doing the best that you can, at no pay. I really think that's wrong. I think at least I should give you, some kind of stipends for expenses. But I appreciate that, and I appreciate the bravery of members that do speak out. When they're the sole opposing vote, speaking their conscience. You know my experience, as a construction, project manager and 19 years in school construction. And I really feel that the school bond is the capital construction bond is a total disaster in the things that it is addressing, and I absolutely disagree with the way that the community was leveraged, for something that's going to cost $110 million, when it's not necessary, really. This was totally wasteful and unnecessary, and also seizing the decision making of future boards. It's just totally wrong. But anyway, I enjoyed the celebration of the wonderful teachers here, and I want to say that I love Port Washington. And I really want what's best for Port Washington. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
If there are no other comments at this time, we will close that out, and we